Hey everybody, this is John from aMTBer Products. This will be the beginning of vlog number 4. I'm just trying to do an intro here and trying to be a little bit more of a YouTuber. Not really very good at this, and it's just the way it is. But there's things that I want people to know about my product and why it's different, and exposing a lot of the other stuff that's going on out there that's really, really quite annoying. But real quick, this Chainwax applicator tool, I've been running out of them like crazy. I've got a new little control device on them to control the tension on there, so you'll see it when you order one. But it's the 3-head brush up here that's got a special bend in it to fit the chain, and they're still $5. There's the original Smooth Lube. This is your chain prep formula now, and this can be used all over the bike. One of the things it's really good for is lining your shifter cables on mechanical shifting bikes. You can even coat your rear derailleur with it, like just kind of put it on all the parts and then wipe it off with a rag. It really helps keep the dust from not sticking to it. Here's the original Lubenschleiden. Here's the Smooth Lube Formula 1.2. Here's the 5311, probably the best seller. And then here's the e-bike formula. So it's real simple. When you Google the name, it comes up in order from the thinnest material to the thickest material. And then I have a shot bottle. I think I have a couple. Yeah, I've got a Darkmatter shot bottle now too. And those prices are pretty good. You're basically getting a free 4-ounce bottle for the price of one. For the price of 3. So that's what the prices are based on. At least that's what they were. Those are some of my original sample bottles from the Seattle trade show. Okay. Here's a picture of my XC bike right there. Let's see, and here's the Plant Power Racing Team, which I sponsored. Let's see if I can see my logo anywhere there. Oh, there it is on the back pocket. So those guys are the fastest guys in town back in the day here. I don't know what they're doing these days. I'd love to reach out to them again. But and then down here at the bottom, you've got all these reviews. Here's the Riding Gravel review. I think it's a downloadable one. And then I don't have the latest reviews up there yet. So there's a 3-year chain lube review on YouTube, and then there's the 2 new ones, one from Old Guy on a Bike and the one from Lone Wolf. So check those out. I'll leave some links in the description in the first comment. Whatever will take a link these days on YouTube, not sure. So my hate marketing video I just did yesterday got quite a few views, 151 views, which is, it's a new channel here, and so new series here of vlogs. So that's pretty interesting. It got some reactions. There's actually some people even comment. Oh, there's 7 comments tonight. I don't think I've even read them all. One guy says it's a cult, the wax thing. Anyway, I'm going to touch on the hate marketing thing right now. I mentioned the fact that anybody that's going to resort to this in their marketing, there's something else going on. And it's usually not what it appears. Now, when I was a kid, the first time I became aware of this, what I now call hate marketing, was the Coke versus Pepsi thing. And it was called the Pepsi Challenge. So if you're in your 50s, you probably remember this. And in Wikipedia, it's actually known as the Cola Wars. How funny is that? So back when we were kids, you would go to the grocery store and there'd be somebody sitting there at a booth with these little paper cups, and you got to do the Pepsi Challenge. And, I remember seeing the TV commercials as a kid. I remember being pretty appalled by it. As probably a 6 or 7-year-old kid, I was a bright one, and nothing got really past me even then. And I just thought it was really unethical to use the competition in your commercial and slam them. So basically, you didn't see this anywhere else. You didn't see Hoover vacuums ripping apart the other vacuum. I don't know of another vacuum cleaner name, but you didn't see other products putting the competition on TV and saying terrible things about them. You just didn't see that. So this was my introduction to this type of marketing as a kid, 6 or 7 years old, And obviously, the Coca-Cola is, well, one of them is loaded with sugar, and the other one goes great with Jack Daniels. So, you know, the one that was the first one was getting challenged by the upcomer, and that's the case. That's what's going on. This Shimano thing. I've been using Shimano stuff since I was a little kid. Mr. Shimano had a fishing business, and his kid was riding bikes, so he invented this freewheel, the free hub that's screwed onto your hub. That was his first $5 invention that got him into the bike business. I read Mr. Shimano's story 20 years ago, and then he died. Oh, I don't know when he died, but I remember just thinking, wow, what a great success story. And I really respected him, his integrity. And so when other companies have to go against the industry leader and use hate marketing, I just find it appalling. And I still don't drink Pepsi till this day. So that was my generation, the Pepsi Challenge. And then I was thinking about this all last night. I remembered my dad was one of these Ford Chevy guys, like one of these, you were either a Ford guy or a Chevy guy in my dad's generation. And I don't think you were allowed to be both. I think I remember my dad saying something like having both cars in the same driveway is like a sin or something like that. And so this sort of hate rivalry stuff, this goes way back. At least that far that I'm aware of. I'm sure it goes back further with other products. I'm just not aware of them. And just stumbled on this. The number one cola in America, AI says it's Coca-Cola. There you go. So the Shinano was a Japanese aircraft carrier in World War II, and when you actually spell it right, you get to Shimano's company. It comes up, Shimano.com, and they have reels first, so they're still like huge in the fishing business, and then bikes, bicycle components, Shimano Fishing USA, and Shimano, just the Shimano label here. So part of the thing in the Shimano war, which Wikipedia will probably have a page on that after this video at some point in the near future. The SRAM guys always called Shimano parts fishing reels, And I used to say, every time I hear my Shimano brakes make no noise, it reminds me of that time my dad and I went fishing, and it brings back all these memories. I used to spin it around, turn it into reminiscing about fishing with my dad on Catalina Island. So here's a quick clip of some of the stuff that, I'm seeing. It's just, very casual and common for them to talk this way on the Zero Friction Cycling channel, which I know now I've exposed it enough. I'm going to continue to go into more detail of what I've discovered. I've got one day into this, and it's already sealed the deal, case closed. But let me see if I can just play this clip for you.
We are dealing with Michael at Showing Speed for many years now. We first bonded in much humour over the shocking results of the Chainwax testing that they did, and continued on from there. And Michael has been behind getting me a lot of the awesome actual data and knowledge I have around, especially say chain efficiencies. So it says a lot of chain models for me, so we know what's fast and what's not fast.
So this guy, I forget I don't even remember this guy's name at the moment. It's just what a clown, you know. So him and the guy Michael at Ceramic Speed, they chuckle all the time about the results of the Wendwax test. And let me find the next clip of it here. But before I put the next clip in, you know, so they laugh about the results of the Wendwax stuff. They say it almost broke the machine. Okay. And this is putting the Wendwax up against their 2,500 I think they upped the ante from 1,000 kilometers back 3 years ago when I first, you know, became aware of these clowns and what they're doing. And now it's 2,500. So they chuckle all the time at how funny the results of the Wendwax was test. But wait a minute. The zero friction cycling drip lube only gets 50 to 60 miles in the dry and 20 to 25 in the wet, and the Ceramic Speed washes off in the water, so it doesn't do well at all. And they don't give the actual data of the Ceramic Speed drip lube, but let me see. Ceramic Speed UFO drip, excellent performance in the dry conditions, making smooth chains quiet, clean by repelling dirt. However, performance in wet or muddy conditions is considered poor. So it washes off easily. So it's not going to pass. It's not going to pass their test either, where they simulate some of these conditions. And then the Silka durability in dry conditions. A application might be needed every 50 to 60 miles, right there, 50 to 60 miles, while in wet conditions might be every 30 to 40 kilometers, 20 to 25 miles. But yet they chuckle about the Wendwax, you know, non-crock pot applied wax, and I'll get into how it's obvious to me now that the crockpot stuff is specifically designed to pass their own test, and that's done by this thing. You know, basically, when a lubrication passes through your drivetrain, it gets separated when it hits the teeth, and then there's a thing kind of recovers on the return to the so it goes over the top of your chain ring where all the torque is applied, and it parts, it separates, and then under the pressure, and then as it returns back to the jockey wheels and through your cassette, that it gives it a little time to recover, and then there is torque that goes through your cassette as well, and it parts again a little bit, and then on the top part of the chain it recovers on the return back to the chain ring, and this is what the cycle that goes on and on and on. So how quickly a chain lube recovers is key to this, and waxes don't do well with the recovery because they're solid, right? So that's why it's helpful with wax products I'm talking about other wax products, okay? Mine, I've already solved this problem, but I'm going to explain the problem to you, okay? So the thing is it's helpful to shift gears once in a while to push the wax back over. So you have to imagine there's a small portion of your chain touching the roller. It's only, you know, it's a very small amount touching the engagement of the teeth on your chain ring. But on the cassette, that engagement point is slightly different. The pressure might be a little more to the left of the roller or a little more to the right of the roller, depending on what gear you're in the back. So when you're cross-chained to the high side, it's going to be pinching on one direction. When you're cross-chained down to the low side of the gears, it's going to be pinching in the opposite direction. This will push the wax back and forth. Now, all of these simulation machines that I've seen just have it in one gear. So they run it in one gear the whole time. At least that's the case with the muck-off test. I saw their actual machine. I thought, oh, that's great. It seems like that there was only one gear that they used it on. They weren't shifting throughout the test. They were just running it in one gear the whole time. And I've not seen any video of what they're doing here on this channel, but you know, so there is that sort of an error in the test. With a wax product other than mine, you need to be shifting quite often to keep pushing that back and forth, because those waxes are mainly a solid, and you're just relying on what's actually bonded to your cassette to make up for that when you are, say, in one gear for a long time. Let's say you did a 2-hour climb uphill, something like some of those famous climbs in Italy or other places where I don't even know if a 2-hour climb actually exists, but bottom line is out here we have Angeles Crest Highway, we have the road, very dangerous roads, so I don't do them with the cars, but you have GMR, that might be close. No, I don't even think GMR is that. No, GMR is not that much, but a consistent climb of 45 minutes, I was doing quite a bit, okay? And I was not getting any of these problems I'm talking about. My chain lube is wax-based, and recovery, it is recovering because I've gotten around that problem in a different way. That's something I can't really talk about. But, so...
the thousands of kilometers be up to around a couple of watts. And strange enough, even this was something that even Muckoff helped shore up the case for when I had a call with them some years ago, as we're trying to get to the bottom of some of our differences of opinions on things. They were sort of, I guess, you know, touting how awesome Ludicrous AF was that it was like, hey, look, and again, this was their stuff and not sent to me to be able to keep, but it's like, hey, look, here's what happens when we have a chain with Ludicrous AF. Here's its efficiency loss result. We send it out with an athlete. They do some races. It comes back. We ultrasonic clean it. We reach.
Oh, the drama of it all. So you can see here, it's just, you know, the testing is even in question among themselves, okay?
This testing data, I've been saving this for the right time. It was going to be on the right sort of anti-wax and nut job video.
So there's a thing they call people anti-waxer nut jobs now, okay? So you can see this. This is all for entertainment, guys.
This for the right time. It was going to be on the right sort of anti-wax and nut job video, proposing how awesome oil is. I was going to use it to really tear that down. Never got around to doing that properly. So 1 watt loss. That is 4.16 watt loss increase in just 2,000 Ks of testing. Wind wax, we won't even bother with that, but that practically broke the machine. Rock and roll gold.
So wind wax almost broke the machine. Okay, how is that possible to break a machine? Wouldn't the chain break first before the machine got so much tension applied to it? It doesn't even make any sense. Because a completely dry chain can run all day. It's just not going to run efficiently. So this is drama. That's a flat out lie. Let's take a look here what that data actually said. And that's down at the bottom here. The Wind Wax Advanced Application Technique, dissolving wax in with wax off solvent, okay? Not given permission to release by ceramic speed, but very high. Just had Wind Factory, hold on, I can barely see this. Okay, it says also had a recent factory Wind Factory race wax chain tested at Wheel Energy for a third-party manufacturer cannot release data due to its non-disclosure. It says NDS, but it was very high. So, you know, this is not no data is provided, but they're, you know, just slamming the competition. Now, when I first heard of Wendwax. It was marketed as like a guy who was a road bike guy, and I think it was his last name, and he came up with this wax, and he was all over Instagram. Like right after I did Sea Otter, it was a couple of years. Next thing I know, like within about a year or two, it was a couple of years later, I think, the Wendwax was all over Instagram. I was doing these, $1,000 Instagram. My bill was about $1,000, and I would sell a couple $1,000 worth of chain lube, and it was kind of a waste of time. But the Wendwax guy had daily daily Instagram uploads, and so that's how I saw this company. And it was marketed by like a guy who, it looked like it was his product. I think he was some kind of a high-level road bike racer. And then next thing you know, they're sponsoring some people, and they had this colored wax, which I thought was kind of funny. Like, why would you want to do that? But hey, whatever, marketing, whatever, appeals to people. But, I thought, that's strange. And then they came up with an application tool, and then they eventually came out with the drip wax. And I know everybody's watching what I'm doing, and they're trying to mimic it. I could see that. Because they would come out with their crock pot wax, and then, let's put it in a bag. You can boil it on your stove. I'm sure the wife loves that, right? Honey, you're boiling chains on my stove again in the kitchenware. And then you've got, they all come out with their product, and they all try to come out with the drip wax. So you see, they never developed a drip wax. They developed their product with these crazy application techniques, and the Wendwax is put it on with your fingers, and then it came out with a tool, and it's like, okay, that's cool. At least it gets around the crock pot nonsense. But you still got to strip it. You still got to do all those things. It doesn't stay clean enough to keep itself clean. All the products don't. They all require you to use a degree. And it says right here that let's see, what did it say? Wax with a wax off solvent. So they were supplied with the wax and a wax off solvent, apparently from the same manufacturer. So you got Wendwax, right? This guy on a road bike, he's got this wax. Then you've got Rex Wax here. Okay, let's talk about this for a minute. Rex Wax is this huge waxing company. I'm Googling it right now. Okay, so I'm gonna just show you here. They've got different kinds of racing. They've got a shop. They've got ski wax. Wait, this Rex Wax company is a long-time ski product is what it is. And you've got all these different products they make, okay? So it's a huge factory. So now when you Google Wendwax, oh wait, waxperformance.com, Wendwax Works. USA made ski and snowboard waxes. Wait a minute. Wendwax is a huge company too. It's not just some little company. They have tons of products. Wait a minute, they've got ski wax too. Hold on a second. What's really going on here? This is the Coke and Pepsi challenge, guys. That's what this is. And you've got two, because I was thinking, well, how is it Wend has not sent a cease and desist order to these guys? Now that might look bad, because they could say, well, they were sent a cease and desist order for slamming the competition so hard like they do. It almost broke the machine. The Wendwax almost broke the machine. Oh, the drama of it all. It's just not true. You can't. How can you break a testing machine with a dry chain? You can't. Then the testing machine is not up to. None of this added up to me. And all it did was me Googling the two companies. And I went, oh, it's one big ski wax company versus another. That's what this is. And they're probably in cahoots in it together, and they laugh at the Christmas party about it. So then I realized, well, this is obvious that maybe Ceramic Speed and their the silica product are probably made by one of these two companies, probably the Rex Wax, or maybe they're made by both of them. Maybe one is made by Rex Wax, one is made by... So maybe Ceramic Speed is the bad guy in this situation, and Silica's the good guy, the good cop, bad cop thing. This is all a setup, guys. This whole thing is a scam. And what it's done is, like, Rex Wax, probably Wax makes so much money on everything else, they don't care about their mountain bike line. So they're going to be in cahoots with Ceramic Speed. They're going to be the bad guys, and this opens the door for them to slam everybody else, all the other little companies that come up with their own products based on their own needs and their own parameters. And we're going to put it up against this test. It's going to fail. They're probably laughing about it at the Christmas party. I'm telling you right now, this is obvious to me now. I had no idea that Wend was a ski wax company when it was marketed to my takeaway from the marketing I saw daily. It was, because I'm in the wax chain business, it was coming up on my everything I look at, right? And I was under the impression that it was a guy with the last name of Wend, and he was a racer, and this was his product, and it was a little thing, and it showed videos of this little warehouse and him. That was all deception too. He's probably the son of the Mr. Wend who owns the company for 50 years or something like that. So you got deception on both sides now. So they're probably in on it too. I mean, that's the only takeaway as a marketing guy, that's got 25, well, more like 30 years now, I guess, in marketing. Yeah, 30 years now since I went to my very first trade show. This is all set up. This is all fake. This is the Coke and Pepsi challenge. That's what this is, the Pepsi challenge. And in this case, you've got none of them are the originator. None of them came up with a daily application. I'm gonna start calling mine a daily application wax. I don't like the word drip wax. I think it sounds stupid. And that just tells you these people have no thought. They've put no thought into these products. They have their ski waxes, which is a bigger market, I'm sure. I would think that that's probably where they make most of their money all these years. Or X-Wax, I caught that this has been around for 50 years, this company, okay? So when it comes to, like, what I'm going to call a daily use wax for your bike, like a regular, it's like you use it like a regular chain lube. The only difference with mine is I have a little tool now to push it into the rollers. You can apply it like a regular lube if you want, and use a toothbrush, and then use my little tool to push it in the rollers, and you're done. It's more like waxing your surfboard than it is oiling your chain of the old days. So there's just, the only difference with mine is a slightly different technique. Other than that, it's a regular chain lube. You buy it in a bottle. You don't got to buy a bunch of equipment to do it or anything like that. You don't need to use the pots and pans on your stove and boil some wax in a bag. You know, I mean, come on. That sounds like a complete mess. So none of these people have actually spent any time formulating their drip wax. I did 35,000 miles to get here. It took me about 20,000 or so to get the 5311 finished. And then I've been using it for the last 15 or 20,000 miles up until I stopped recording the data with Strava. I told you I had some problems with Strava a few years ago. And now I'm glad. I just heard what they're doing with this lawsuit against Garmin. They want Garmin to stop making products. Garmin's like a $50 billion company, and Strava's a couple $100 million company. Obviously, they're going for a settlement, and that's exactly the type of tactics, business practices I told you in one of the earlier vlogs I didn't want to be involved with. I think that was the first vlog. I mentioned Strava and how they changed their personality, and I saw it coming. I had no idea they were going to go after somebody like Garmin to accuse them of you know, basically it looks like it's an intellectual property thing. They're not gonna win, but Garmin will probably settle, and they'll probably get a couple $100 million out of it, or maybe more. They might even get $500 million. Then what are they gonna do? Go after Apple? All the people with Apple watches that use their watches to record their activities? So I don't know. If Strava does have intellectual property rights to the whole idea, I find that hard to believe. But well, anyway. So this is the Pepsi Challenge, and it says it was 1975. So yes, I was 6 years old, and it was really sort of ridiculous. But people fell for it. People loved the drama of it, and that's what you're seeing now in this chain lube war thing, where it's, you know, I'm not partaking in it, but I'm pointing out what he says. You know, I just pointed out the Wendwax comment, and then I looked into Wendwax. Like, how are they not responding to this, like with legal cease and desist? And it's because they're a huge company. It's not some little guy, like their marketing suggested. So that was a little deceptive. I got to be honest, it was a little deceptive, because I thought it was a guy who raced bikes. I don't know if I could find it. So this is their little tool to apply it, the little roller tool they came up with. And then you see he uses his fingers to push it in. He probably could use a couple of my chain tools. And they make all these different colors, so you can do a rainbow chain if you want. You know, and that's their little gimmick. That's their gimmick. It's, you know, that's pretty cool. I don't know, matches the guy's socks there. Okay, got it. So this is not a little company like I was under the impression. This is a huge company, and now they come up with their drip version, okay? And like I told you, I could tell by look. So that must be their degreaser. So it's an on the bike degreaser. Okay. All right. So you have to use like a degreaser product, and then, well, like I said, when you see this sort of hate marketing, it's usually not what it is. It usually is more to it than what it appears on the surface. And it's not zero friction, just picking on little guys. It is two giant companies that are playing ball together and opening the door to pick on everybody else, basically. And then the third entity in this is the Muck-Op, which Muck-Op, I believe, is a derivative from a auto product line. I think Muck-Op comes from an auto division of. They started out with their bike cleaners, like cleaning your bike, like basically car wax, car polishes, and car washes, and they look like they're from the auto industry. These two companies are from the ski industry, and they're going to head-to-heads. And so if you look up, Muck-Op is still the #1 chain lube with all the marketing as far as Amazon's concerned, the #1 seller. And we know it doesn't last very long, and you have to use degreaser to take it off, and that's just not going to work for me. Anyway, I think you guys can see my point. There's a lot going on here. The marketing that we're seeing is something I don't want to partake in. I just want to create a great product, have people try it. Once you use my product, if you've experimented with any of these things I've shown you here, then you can see my product's more like the way you've always done it. It's really close to the way you've always done it. You just got to put it on a little differently. The tool makes it super easy. Even when you're putting an oil on, it'd be the same thing. You're either going to run the whole chain at once, and it's going to get on your chain ring, it's going to get on your cassette, and you're either going to leave it there and collect dust, or you can put it on carefully, like 1 drop per link was. A lot of people were doing 1 drop per link about 10 years ago, and that took about 5 minutes to do your chain. Mine doesn't take 5 minutes. Mine takes about 1 minute. So even against an oil lube, to properly... All right, Instagram had a mind of its own there and just started playing stuff. So I don't know what's going on with the phone right now. Hold on, let me wrap this up. So I'm on Instagram looking up something, and it's using AI. It says Rex Wax is a well-known brand in the ski wax industry, offering a range of products including grip waxes, glide waxes, and wax removers designed for various snow conditions and skiing styles. So you can see that their expertise is in this area, and they're trying to modify what they know to fit a bike. And that's why they're having problems. That's why when I said the wax dust thing, I made some batches with it. I theorized it. I discovered a way to do this dehydrated wax thing that I was working on. And I found a couple ways to atomize it to get it down to really fine talcum powder consistency. And I realized that's just too much work. And so bottom line is that I can't talk any more about it than that. But that's what they're still all doing. And you've got limited life. And it probably doesn't store very well in the bottle over time either. So I think I've had enough fun for today. And let's see. I'm going to listen back and see if I can close it with anything else. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up here. This is taking up a little too much time with all the little glitches and stuff, and I'm sorry for some of the pauses and the noises. I just don't have time to do this 3 or 4 times, so just bear with me. I'll put my phone on Do Not Disturb next time. And Instagram had a mind of its own as well. But listen, I want to wrap it up with this. When you see this marketing where they're bashing the competition all the time, something that came to mind while I was doing this video was the Dish and DirecTV thing, okay? And, most people like the DirecTV. It seemed to be a little higher quality, even the boxes, and then there was the Dish one, and you know what I don't know if you guys know this, but my mom used to work at a very big company in the aircraft industry and missile systems. And the engineers there, my parents knew a lot of them and knew a lot of the development that went on there. Most of the stuff they did was top secret. Both my parents had secret clearances and stuff to do the missiles and whatnot. And then my mom did the computer stuff for the missiles, and my dad was like an engineer. Well, here's the thing. The DirecTV Dish thing here, which, this big rivalry. But this whole entire technology was created by Hughes Aircraft Company, where my mom worked. And they owned both of them. And what I realized is, they created their own competition. So there's no room for a number 3. You either were a Dish person or a DirecTV person. There really was no room for a third entity. See, Hughes Aircraft owned all the satellites. They made all the satellites. My uncle was the one who helped invent solar panels for satellites back in the 50s. And, anyway, this is put in our face for years. I think it's still going on till this day. I don't know. I don't watch TV. But both companies were created and owned by Hughes Aircraft, and Hughes Aircraft made the boxes and owned the satellite. The whole thing was creating its own competition. So there's no room for another. And I think that's something that was done in back rooms with Pepsi and Coke in order to market both at the same time, get more people to drink. Let's create some drama behind it, and that'll get people to really think about our product more. And I just kind of saw something Googling around. It looks like the Pepsi Challenge made a comeback this year. I had no idea. Because people are trying to get healthier, and soda is like one of the first things you get out if you're next to maybe McDonald's and fast food, right? You just get that stuff out of your diet if you're trying to get healthy. So how do you bring back the good old days? Start another cola war.
And on that note, I'll leave it here. Thanks for listening, guys. I know this is not very scripted and very, polished, but just think of it as like having somebody in your living room talking about bikes with you. Thanks so much, guys. Try my stuff. I guarantee you're going to love it. All right. Bye-bye.